It is July 9th, 2018. This is Atlanta United FC Weekly, a Home Before Dark podcast.
And we back, and we back.
This is the intro. This is not quite the entree yet. And I am Tim Herb. And as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Mr. Kevin Bradley. It's been 2 weeks.
Oh, that's my fault.
Yep. You probably can't hear it in the mic, but thank you guys for joining. Sorry for the 2-minute late stream.
Joey Herring.
Yeah.
On top of it.
Yeah, he's got no patience and he hates waiting. So let's
What?
Big Pimpin' by Jay-Z.
Oh, okay. I feel you.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys are watching on YouTube, we really appreciate you joining us in the trap. If you guys are watching, make sure that you hit the little bell notification icon, the subscription button, and then also there's a thumbs up button on your stream right now. Press that thumb. Get us some more viewers. Anyway, if you guys are listening to us on iTunes and or Apple Podcasts / Stitcher, make sure that you guys leave us a review and or a rating.
Or just take them back like whoever that was. That We went down in a rating. We lost a rating somehow. In the 2-week hiatus, it's been a month since we've gotten a new rating or review.
And then somebody went through the process of revoking their
took
review.
It back.
Yeah.
Took it back.
We deserve it, I guess. Sorry, guys. Sorry we were out last Monday. It was a perfect storm of work and all this other stuff. And anyway, we appreciate you guys joining us. Got some familiar names, as Kevin was saying. Joey Herring, Elliot Beaven, the Englishman, I believe anyway, or either that or he just really loves the English men's national team. He's saying football is coming home. We got the wavy one in there. He's back for the first time in a while. We got Michael Ruiz saying, I have changed over to this from the gym. So don't make me regret moving away from my awesome gym playlist.
Oh, I thought he was saying like he was doing this instead of going to the gym, which is a much better use of your time.
Yes, absolutely. And we got ATL Chris, a.k.a. Dirty Bird Person, joining us live. Thank you guys for tuning in on this beautiful, sweltering Monday evening. Spent some time in Charlotte this weekend, and the rain actually cooled the city off. It was kind of nice. It was like 70 degrees the morning, Sunday morning. Yeah.
I was in Wichita Falls, Texas last week where it was 104 every single day.
Oh, God. Yeah, that sounds terrible.
And then as soon as I got off the MARTA in Buckhead on 4th of July, it started raining. Just in the one spot right off of the MARTA stop. Just perfect timing. It was beautiful. Beautiful way to come back to Atlanta. Super humid, just as hot as ever.
Yeah, that's good on you for actually using Atlanta public transportation to go to the airport.
Yeah,
to and from the airport.
Well, I didn't take it to the airport.
You just took it home.
Yeah, because like
you just take an Uber.
Yeah, I took an Uber.
Did you go to your office, take an Uber down, and then take your
Yeah, because it's just MARTA. As shitty as it sounds, I mean, it's so inconsistent, and I can never tell if it's going to take me 45 minutes or an hour and 45 minutes versus traffic. I pretty much have a decent handle on, and I know if I Waze it, I'll know essentially how long it's going to take my Uber to get there. So coming back, I'm not nearly as in much of a rush. So I'll Uber back or MARTA back and Uber down to the airport. Pro tip. So actually, no, I Lyft down because Lyft does not surge as much as Uber does. So it was like $6 less for the Uber or Lyft.
Oh, that's not too bad. Yeah, it was expensive to Uber this past weekend. I was in New Orleans on Thursday and Friday, and then I was in Charlotte the rest of the weekend. Anyway,
it's been 3 games since we recorded the last.
Oh, gosh.
And it's been 2 weeks for us, but it was 3 games in the span of 7 days, which is crazy.
Yeah, and we didn't do too poorly on that stretch.
No, I'm really happy with that. I mean,
because we right now, if all things considered,
I say let's just set a precedent for this entire show because we have 3 games to cover. Just true home before dark, Kevin and Tim fashion, just free flowing, jump from game to game, topic to topic, no rhyme or reason. We don't have to go like Orlando pros and cons, then Dallas, then Philly. Like it's okay. It was a long
just jump around.
Jump around. Yeah.
Okay. Jump up and then get down.
But yeah, I'm really happy with that result. 6 points in 3 games.
Yeah, and the one
2
thing
on the road.
Yeah, and the other thing to consider is, I mean, aside from just a collapse in the last 6 minutes of the game, we were getting pressed for the last 20 minutes, but we really didn't collapse until the last. It was in the 86th minute, I think they scored, and then the 88th. Is that right?
And,
something like that.
I'm still.
But that aside, think about this. Dallas, all things considered, if they win their next 2 games or the 2 games that they have in hand on us, they are the Supporter Shield
correct
leaders right now.
Correct.
So it's not so bad to go to stupid hot Frisco. I think Frisco is where they play, right? And to go there.
Of course, it's like the time I'm coming back from Dallas.
Yeah.
Like I leave the day we play Orlando, fly into Dallas, and then fly back the day we're playing in Dallas, which is a bummer. But
and for us to show out the way that we did, I mean, we went down kind of early. I think it was in 20 minutes in, something like that. When we gave up that free kick to Ziegler, and then for us to be able to come back, before the half, and then to take the lead, hold on to the lead for a little bit, and then only have it collapse then. I'm kind of proud of that. I mean, it sucks, right? I mean, it really sucks. But all things considered, whenever you take the aggregation of all of our away games this year,
we're still the best away team.
Right. How well we're playing right now. I can't think. I mean, I know that Dallas are potentially the Supporter Shield leaders right now. If they win those 2 games, they lost this weekend.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm hard pressed, and I'm a homer, I know, but I'm hard pressed to find a team that's in better form than us, and that is more poised to win silverware.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I agree, and it's tough, man. The Dallas game specifically, which I think is one game that we can focus most of our attention on because it was the game that was the loss out of the 3. And even though I felt really gutted coming out of that game, for all intents and purposes, we outplayed them, won that game for 86 minutes, and then you're right, it just kind of fell apart. However, it's revisionist history at best to try to go back and rhyme and reason about what coulda, shoulda, woulda happened as far as substitutions or attack versus defense. But the reality of the fact is, with the information we were presented at the time, the way we were playing, there was the way that Dallas was pressing with an additional man up top, and knowing that we've sat here and said it every time Miles Robinson has played, that he has showed up, stepped up, played the part on the back line. There was nothing to me that said that his substitution to bring him on and shore up the back line with 5 to counter the 4 that they were surging with was the wrong move. And I stand by that. Guzan makes a miss on a save that he makes in his sleep. I drop a spicy water. And then the second goal is just a ping pong ricochet goal and madness at the end of the game.
Yeah, I guess there are definitely criticisms that can be had about the game that Brad Guzan had. I mean, I think that one of the things that that we were talking about whenever we were watching the highlights again today was, at least in my opinion, I think Brad Guzan looked slow on the night. Not just in his ability to actually get somewhere, but in his decision making. I mean, you saw that in the goal that Ziegler had. Right. I mean, you saw him kind of shuffle a little bit while leaving a lot of space to his near post.
He definitely did seem to have an off night.
There was that. And then, I mean, the shot that, granted, Maxi Urruti's back heel.
Oh, yeah.
Was something to behold.
You could talk all day about whether or not Miles got caught out of position or was slightly, out of touch. It was still a great play. It's not like they were both in a one-on-one head-on and he got like dicked at the 6-yard box.
No, he
just,
he didn't have,
split them and it was perfect timing.
Yeah. He didn't have strong enough hands. Guzan didn't have strong enough hands on that. I mean, He got hands to it, put it down to the ground, as opposed to, I guess he didn't get his hands low enough. But, I mean, to Joey Herring's, I think it was Joey Herring's point, he says, I'm annoyed with the end of Dallas, but I still love Brad. Obviously, like, we all still love Brad Guzan. I think he deserves to start. Actually, I take that back. He may not deserve to start in the All-Star game, but he is still one of the best keepers in the league. He has definitely saved us in a lot of situations, namely that, was it the New York City game where he was just stopping?
Saves.
Yeah, 9 saves.
Which hurts worse for you, realistically? Because I've said it myself. I would take 5 of those Dallas losses to having to sit through one of those Houston losses to open up the season.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was weird. I mean,
because I can at least have a lot of positive to take away about that Dallas game.
Yeah. Let's see. Brian says, how many more times has he saved our asses versus how many mistakes has he made? I think the former far outweighs the latter.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, we got a couple of people in the trap showing up. Brittany S, thank you for tuning in as always. We got Saul Lopez showing up for the first time in a while. I haven't seen him in a while. And then Tony Neitzel, he said, I think the weight of the loss falls more on the formation change rather than on Robinson. I think that's maybe understandable, because one of the things that you think about whenever that goal happens is that you see two center backs. I mean, you have Miles Robinson, who comes in to play the right back, or to even play. I don't even know. I mean,
I guess that's a good point. Is that it's not a formation that they regularly play. It's not a lineup that typically plays together, and it was sort of reactionary rather than being proactive and
for sure,
keeping the ball on their end of the field. We couldn't keep them from getting past midfield, so as a result we had to do something, and that solution was to sub in a defender. However, I do think the execution and the formation is probably a little bit more to blame than the particular players or the fact that it was a defensive sub.
Absolutely. Happiest of Joes, thanks for tuning in. Good to see you, Brian. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it's true. Keepers have bad days. And that's the same thing that goes for Miles Robinson. I was actually more perturbed about the third goal than with the first.
Yes.
Because it seemed like, and I understand it's at the end of the game, everybody's tired, sluggish. They're probably not.
They just looked like a deer in the headlights.
All their synapses aren't firing it that fast. Yeah, it's exactly what happened. I mean, you see the ball. I don't know. We watched it a few times, and my first thought is Parkhurst should have done better.
It hits 4 different Atlanta players.
I know. But the first thing that it hits off of is
Parkhurst sticks a leg out there.
Parkhurst sticks a leg and plays it back in. Yeah, like it's right in front of the 6. And then I think Lorenowitz has a chance at it, and Mikey Ambrose is coming off of the far post trying to go and cover, and he can't get there in time. It was kind of awful.
Right. Anyway, you cut it. It's not like we systemically lost that game or were outplayed the entire course of the week. Realistically, you take into account the situation that Atlanta was dealt, coming off of a massive rivalry win at home, traveling 4 days later to Dallas, which isn't like a travel to Montreal or something, but it is traveling to a different climate. It was hot. It was muggy. It was on a holiday. You know, you're traveling, you're on a short week, it's a holiday against a really fucking good team in Dallas.
Yeah, there's really no shame in the fact that
you're playing against quote unquote America's team in the heartland on July 4th. Yeah. You can't spell sausage without USA.
Oh dear God.
One of the best things from my trip, by the way, was watching the Cornhole Championship in a Dallas airport.
Oh my God. It's so American. So American. Domer's coming into the trap saying all came down to Tata not having his cape on. It's funny, we were watching the game against Philly, and Angie's like, why does he always have his sweater around his neck like that? He's also asking me to slap you in the face. Kevin Brown says Texas is a different part of the planet, or is a different planet.
That's just rude.
Yeah. I you know what? I'll take a loss. And I'm not going to call it freakish, because there are things that we could shore up from that, but I'll take a loss that happens that way against Dallas, who's now arguably the best team in the West, if not the best team in the league. Once they make up their schedule, I'll take that kind of loss against them as opposed to getting outplayed for 90 minutes.
Yeah. Like I said, I would take 5 of those for every one Houston game, which goes to make another point, which is that we've lost 3 games this season.
Yeah.
3 games, dude.
Yeah.
An opener, which for all intents and purposes was a fluke.
That was a wash. To me, that game's a wash.
The worst loss we've had in 2 years against a subpar team. We're figuring out a lineup. A lot of things are transitioning. It opens up the season in a really negative light. However, since then, 2 losses.
At home, though. That's what's weird, right? We lost to New York, and then we lost to, was it SKC? New York Red Bulls, and then who else did we lose to at home?
I don't think we've lost, but just the one at home, right? We've only lost 3 games total, right? Or have we lost 4 total?
Shit. Now you're making me question things.
Oh shit, we've lost more than I thought we did.
Yeah, we've lost 4. So we've lost.
Okay.
Yeah, we've lost 2 on the road, right? To Dallas and to Houston, and we lost 2 at home. SKC and New York Red Bulls.
That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, nonetheless, you wash Houston. It's still, even if you take 4 games, it's 4 games. New York Red Bulls, hell of a great team.
Dude, I take all 4 of those games because I feel like Houston is going to have a reversal of their season last year, and they're going to start becoming a more resurgent side. I think they're gonna start
Could
climbing the
easily see
rankings.
Red Bulls still in the mix.
I want to say
great
Houston,
team, dude. I think. I mean, they lose to NYC this weekend.
They lose but the question still lies in them losing Jesse Marsh.
Right.
I mean, he walks away. He's arguably one of the top 2-3 coaches in the league. And the impact that he's had on that team has been very apparent. And then for him to walk away, it's interesting. You see Leipzig brought their manager back this year.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's going to go and take in he's not going to go and play for or go and manage Leipzig.
But the interesting thing is too, you're also the derby is against a team that also lost their coach.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, both teams are kind of in the same situation. New York City's had a little bit more time to settle in after that. I just want to see how it impacts, especially the younger guys that have been coming up and playing for Jesse Marsh.
I just think both of those teams have enough depth and enough talent that is not going to stifle them from at least being competitive in the East, if not the top 3 in the top 4 or 5 at the very least, especially considering everything that's happening below the line. No team is really stepping out and showing out below 6. You look at Orlando, for all intents and purposes, their season seems to be over. I mean, they have no life. They try to seek some positivity in the fact that they lost 4-1 instead of 4-0 this week. 9 straight. We're going to need a third hand to start counting them up after this week.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
And then Toronto, who we kept waiting and waiting.
And the season is irreparable for Toronto.
DC United's got too much of an uphill battle to climb. Rooney's not going to dig them out of it in 12 games, 14 games, whatever it is.
We talked about it 2 weeks ago whenever we talked about that. Jay and I did at the tailgate, and I was like, man, a team that has something like, I want to look at their schedule, but I want to say they play all their last half of the games at home in their brand new stadium with Wayne Rooney, with Yamil Assad, with Paul Arriola, with Darren Maddox, with Ian Harkes behind them. And part of me is like, that'd be kind of awesome if they made that run, as long as it's not to our expense.
I just think it's too much of an
uphill. No, it is. It is. That would be more like some crazy comeback story for them to accomplish that. I was going to pull up the.
So again, the one team that you can maybe think in the bottom right now, maybe Chicago somehow claws their way back in.
I mean, so you're looking at, DC is sitting on 11 points, 14 games played. So they have 6 games in hand on us. So let's say they finish. Well, they get all 18 of those points, and they're still not. They're still 1 point behind Columbus. So they would have to pretty much go undefeated the rest of the season to really make up any significant ground. Almost the same could be said for Toronto.
Exactly.
Because they played almost the same amount of games as everybody else, kind of the average. You're right, though. I mean, the fact that Montreal is sitting in 6th right now is fairly interesting. The New England, I think, is, unless Brad Friedel's team completely does a 180 and starts shitting the bed and stops playing disciplined and all that, I think that they've kind of locked up that 5 seed. I really don't see the table changing outside of 6 and 7.
I think maybe you see some variation of NYCFC and Red Bulls maybe flip-flopping if Atlanta doesn't. And I know this is super tempting Dread God, but as long as nothing, I mean, aside from an act of God, Atlanta at worst, maybe 2nd, maybe 3rd, but it's not like they're going to fall out of playoffs all of a sudden. So you might see some rearranging in the top 3. Atlanta may drop to 2, either NYCFC or Red Bull somehow jump Atlanta, but the top 3, I think, remain the same. And I think the 4 and 5 may rotate, but it's a pretty tight race from 6 to 8, but 9 through 12 or 9 through 11 are, I don't think that you see any of those guys moving up into any sort of relevancy or playoff positioning based on what we've seen so far.
Yeah. To the Wavy One's point, he said Jesse Marsh became an assistant. I didn't see that. I guess that happened a few hours ago. I just saw this morning whenever Leipzig said they were going to bring their manager back. So maybe that's a good thing. that for Jesse Marsh.
Joey Herring brings up an interesting point. He says, worst, we finished as third, and I think that's fine. What do you think? Do you think that's fine? Considering this season, I don't think that's fine. I think it needs to be a first. I'm okay and content with us slipping to second, but considering the dominance we've had, to get a bye in the first round of playoffs, I think is an expectation at this
I'm going to
point.
do a very sports talk show trope right here, and I'm going to do a role reversal from last year because
you said that it would be a wash if Atlanta didn't make the playoffs.
Right. Yeah. And right now, I think that
you just want to find a way to make sure that you can bring it up.
No, but seriously,
2 games into the season,
not to be too,
not 22 games into the season. But continue.
It's correct. After 1 loss already in the home opener, but not to be too first takey or whatever, but I would be okay with that 3rd seed. I think as long as we actually, no, I take that back. I would be good with the 2nd seed.
I agree.
Yes, and to Brittany S's point, that's the reason. The bye. That's all I really care about in the first round of the playoffs.
Exactly. If this team continues to play at the caliber that it's playing, we expect that to be at least top of the East or Supporter Shield, if not,
yes, exactly.
That should be the case. Therefore, if the team continues to play the way that it's playing, I do not think that 3rd is acceptable, in my opinion. Like, if we take a couple bad beats, like the Dallas game or something like that, like we're not going undefeated the next 14 games. I can assure you that there will be a couple of losses in there.
Yeah.
And if there are a couple of respectable losses and we end up slipping to 2nd, I'm okay with that. But taking like right now, we would need to drop 3 games and Red Bulls or NYCFC would have to pick up 3 games. I'm not okay with that necessarily happening.
Well,
in the run of play,
not necessarily, right? Because New York City has 2 games in hand on us, and then New York Red Bulls has 3 games in hand on us. New York Red Bulls, if they win all 3 of those games, they actually leapfrog us. NYCFC cannot, without some sort of drastic goal differential makeup in that, because we're at, I think, plus 19, they're plus 11. And if they make up those 6 points on us, then they'll
actually, no, we would, depending on goal differential, we could still be ahead of NYC.
No, because
they have 3 games. Sorry, I thought you said 2.
New York Red Bulls. Yeah, so New York Red Bulls would have 1 point over us, and they would have the amount of wins over us, irregardless. I saw a point from Michelle. I always say her last name wrong.
What does she say? It's coming home. Weird.
Paravani, I think is her last name. Anyway, yeah. At least we're hitting the back of the net now, and that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I wanted to talk about with regards to the last 3 games, because regardless of what happened in Dallas, I think we still took our chance as well.
Well, I think it's been, if you take this group of 3 games, right, in context, all things considered, what these 3 games meant to Atlanta at this juncture in the season for this team compared to the long stretch we had at this time last season, where there was a stretch, as it always happens, where you've got 3 games in a week, essentially. And I think we only came away with 4 points or 3 points, and we lost 2 of them last season, if I remember correctly. The difference here is we are substantially better as a team, obviously, based on the results. As a result of that, teams are playing us differently. One of them's on a holiday. We're traveling 2 of those 3 games, and we outscored the opponents 6, 7, 8. What is it? 7, 8 to 3 or something like that.
Let's see, 6, 7, 8. Yes,
8 to 3.
8 to 3.
8 to 3 in that stretch of games.
And 2 away games.
Right, and especially talking about, to their point about how we're putting the ball in the back of the net. It's not that we're putting the ball in the back of the net; it's how we're putting the ball in the back of the net, and it seems really. It's
synergistic.
It's perfect timing that this is starting to click now, considering the past month there's been a lot of talk about XG and whether or not the goal scoring opportunities are being created, and is this okay? Should we be worried? Blah 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 blah. the opportunities are being created and capitalized on. We also haven't had as many like crazy bounces and stuff like that, I felt like, over those 3 games. But again, it was the diversity in the way that those opportunities were created. I think no better was that exemplified than in the Philadelphia game specifically, where you have sort of both sides of what Atlanta's been able to do as far as goal scoring. Well, you have 2 parts of the 3, I guess, that we've seen this year, and one of which we haven't seen as much of that we've been hoping for, which is a good team goal, like a really good, productive team goal in the run of play. Because more times than not this season, it's been scoring off of PKs or a quick cross or a quick run to. There's not been a buildup from the central mid that leads to 3 or 4 touches from 3 different players that build up to an open chance on goal, which is exactly what happened, and only goes to further another point that I'm sure we'll have, which is that Tito Villalba over the past 4 games that he's been a part of is a revelation, and it's so nice seeing him play a full 90 again.
So what happens with how well that Gressel has been, for all intents and purposes, I think that he's been more than adequate in filling in for Darlington Nagbe. What happens once Nagbe comes back? And not that we're a couple months away from that situation happening, but we would be getting close to the playoff time. We'd be getting close to the end of the season. We would be going down a stretch. Maybe we are, to Dummer's point, I think he was saying, let's see. He said, with how quote unquote easy the remaining 14 are, the games in the schedule, he said the main things that can beat us are injuries and ourselves.
Or the trade window.
Yeah, he said can't get big heads and turn down the pressure.
No.
It's true, but that also brings up another question, a squad rotation, which we can talk about later next week or something like that. But to me, the way that this lineup is playing right now, it's the deadliest we've looked in a while.
Yeah.
In months. And a lot of that has to do with Tito getting reintegrated into the squad.
Right.
And you've seen that. I mean, it's over. Everybody loved the team goal, which I thought was great. The goal against Philly. But what Tito was able to do against Figueroa, to dick him the way that he did on that side, and to be able to get in and feed that ball to a inbound Joseph Martinez in the box to slide in and make
Look at what he did on both of those goals.
Yes.
The assist to Martinez's goal and on his goal that he, like, the team goal is one thing, the buildup is one thing, but the subtle backstep for him, and as the ball is moving forward, the pace is moving forward, he's pressing towards the line. As soon as Martinez takes the turn to play the ball to Miggy, Tito takes a step back to allow the gap to open up for Miggy to thread that ball through. Like, yes, excellent vision. Yes, excellent placement by Almiron, but it takes Tito's awareness of where the pace of the defenders are just as much as it takes an awareness of where his trajectory is going as well, so that it opens up the lane for Miggy to make the pass.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier today. I just don't see how that man, when healthy, is a substitute for us. I think he is way too vital. He may not score the amount of goals that Joseph Martinez does. Granted, nobody does. But he creates a lot of chances. His work off the ball, as Kevin is talking about, is something to behold sometimes. And I think that he is, the way that he plays and the way that he meshes with the other guys up front. And you saw Barco kind of getting in on it too against Philly.
Yeah, well, the other thing is it's much more of a hard-nosed approach to offense, I feel like, with Tito in over Gressel over on right wing. Whereas we're still getting a couple of balls lofted over from the wings, but it's everything that we've been missing that teams have been able to shut down for Atlanta over the past 8 weeks or so, where they force us out to a wing. They have height differential on us, and it's a matter of perfect placement and timing for us to cross an aerial ball over for Joseph to get onto, or we draw a foul to get a PK, or we have these couple of sporadic moments where we have some buildup in the midfield. But more times than not, we're creating opportunities from the wing. With Tito in and Gressel central, now Gressel is becoming a distributor from the midfield, which opens up that pace of play straight down the middle of the field, and then trying to open defenses up to the wing so that we're not just forced to do that. You know?
And then it makes crosses that much more valuable whenever they come in. And that's what we talked about, I think, the last time you were here, whenever we were talking about having two guys bombing up the wings, putting crosses in is just too predictable.
It is.
What was the game that we had 35 crosses and drew the game?
Oh, dude, I'm always bad at this of like recalling what the specific game was.
It was against Portland.
The,
it was against Portland.
Yeah,
we had 35 crosses and we drew. It was 1-1 and the
it does get predictable.
It was so predictable to see, and it's not Gressel's fault at all because he's very good at getting into space and getting those crosses in.
I'll give you this. It's predictable because we had done it for 16 or 17 games up to that point, and teams were privy to that and knew how to expose Atlanta in that way to force them to make a play some other way. That's what Tito gives you at this juncture in the season, where you have a complete change in the pace of play that's necessitated by depth to have to pull Gressel to the midfield, that now teams are having to react and completely strategize in a different way to Atlanta. And the hope is maybe over the next couple weeks or towards the end of the season, maybe it does switch back and Gressel goes back, but we have that option rather than only doing it that way.
Yeah. And it's right. I think that's the thing is we have that balance now because Mikey Ambrose, along with Miggy, along with Barco on that left side, can feed those crosses in much more accurate and from different positions than can, Tito.
Right.
Tito's much better interweaving inside, getting into space and getting somebody else out on the wing if somebody's going to bomb up. I mean, you saw that. I think an unsung hero in these games has been Franco Escobar.
Right.
He's been an amazing player.
And because Gressel isn't as dependent as being the person to service the ball from the wing, I think that you will see Escobar get far more involved in crossing those balls over.
And he doesn't just cross either.
Exactly.
Yeah, he can get in.
Oh, dude, I saw him in the Philly game. He was all the way over on the top left.
He was in the left. Yeah,
that's. I think, what the fuck are you doing right now?
I think Kevin Egan said something. He said something to the effect of Franco Escobar. What's he doing over there? Yeah, he needs to get his ass back over to the other side, unless Mikey Ambrose is over there, in which case we're in a lot of trouble. But
so, what are your thoughts? Derek Rushing makes a good point to see. He's curious if Remedi shares time with Big Red. How do you think that he fits into this lineup? You saw that Joseph got his green card.
No, I didn't.
As of this week, he's got his green card.
Okay,
so
great.
That frees up an international slot, assumedly assuming it's for Remedi to get in, and I think it's 7 total now. So, but yes, Joseph got his green card as of this week.
Okay, I don't know.
I think Jeff could use a break. I do not think that is a bad choice. I hope,
dude, he has been great. Like the work that he's doing on the ball has been funny. Like he was disrespecting guys in the Orlando game.
Yes.
And he did some of the same against Philly this weekend. It's refreshing.
He's been great, but I don't want him to just exhaust himself and burn himself out going.
I don't know, man. I've yet to see that man tire out. So I don't know if he's capable of it.
Well, the other thing is too, is like, how do you start to make the transition and thinking towards next season where assuming that Jeff isn't going to be around, I don't want Remedi to come in and go the way of
that's what Domer says. Doubt Remedi plays much this year, or plays this year if others remain healthy, much like Boswell.
Yeah,
Bobby Boswell.
That was the name I was trying to think of. Yeah, I hope he doesn't go that way where we get him and pay this money and all make these transactions to get him over here, and then he ends up not really doing anything.
Well, I mean, there's like a 10-year age difference between the two of them too.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, Boswell ended up playing just in the playoffs, right? Against Columbus, and then retired.
Yeah. But I mean, what's more valuable in the playoffs, right? That's I guess that's what I'm getting at. Is Remedi more valuable to you in the playoffs, or is Jeff?
Oh, Jeff Larentowicz.
Exactly, right?
100%.
Jeff's more valuable to you in playoffs. Knowing that you have something and that you have some sort of a cushion. Let's say the last 5 games. It doesn't have. I'm not saying that he comes in and starts next week with 14 games left on the slate.
All right, so
if we're in a position that we have a comfortable lead for the supporter shield in those last 3 or 4 games, and we know we're going to have a bye week, I think that's when and why we need that depth so that players like Jeff can be saved for playoffs. You have to start thinking that way now that you don't want to count your chickens before they hatch, but at the same time, let's be realistic. Again, all intents and purposes, Atlanta's not going to start playing completely differently, or the teams that we've already played this season somehow, maybe we lose a couple, but it's not like we're going to drop 14 in a row.
Right. So let's talk about squad rotation then, because let's look at our last few. I don't know. Let's look at the stretch that we have. So this weekend we have Sounders, and then the weekend after we have DC United at home also, and then we go to the Stade Saputo to play Montreal, and then the next weekend we play Toronto at home, and then
Dude, look at this.
We have a 2-week stretch, and we play Columbus, and then we go away for what, a 4 game stretch.
Yeah, but look at who we go away to.
Yeah, we go away to Orlando, and then in a week we play DC at Audi Field, which will be fun. And then we go
Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado 2 weeks after that, and then we go to San Jose. So yeah, I mean, let's talk about squad.
And then you end the season again talking about those last few games. Yes, you've got New England. Yes, you've got Red Bulls. Like, I think after the Red Bulls game, those last 3 games in particular stand out to me, where you've got New England, and then your last 2 games against Chicago and Toronto. Like, those are games where you should be in a position to start doing some lineup changes.
We only have we have one kind of rough stretch. If you want to look at just 3 games in 8 days, 3 games in 8 days against Colorado, San Jose, and then we come home to play Real Salt Lake. So let's talk squad rotation. I mean, Jay Riddle's in the chat.
I think the opposite's a tougher stretch for me. San Jose.
I just mean a tough stretch in terms of playing 3 games in 8 days. It's just
true. Okay.
So we're talking about in terms of talking about squad rotation. And to Domer's point earlier, injuries may end up playing a factor in this. Do we care? Let me give this hypothetical. We're in the chase for Supporter Shield, going into that 8 game stretch, or that 3 games and 8 day stretch. Do you play your starters and your number ones? You play your A squad in all 3 of those games, ride them out to try and get Supporter Shield.
If you have an opportunity to lock up Supporter Shield, you absolutely do everything in your power to get it, because I think a bye going into that first round of playoffs is critical. It'll be an exclamation point on this season. It'll be a benchmark and something for this team to rally behind going into those playoffs, and just its second year to take the Supporter Shield. I absolutely think you do everything in your power to get that and lock it up as quickly as possible.
Fair enough.
Because the back half of the season, just like the end of last year, where we were in a position to get a bye in the first round, and we dropped to DC and a Toronto team that we should have won both of those games in that stretch of the last 4. Things can get so weird at the end of the season. If you're in a position to do that with 6 games left, and you can at least get pretty comfortable to get the Supporter Shield, absolutely, you do everything you can to do it.
So in our stretch, running for that to get that bye week and playing all those games at home, Tata ran the guys into the ground, and Greg Garza was absent for a big stretch of that because of that. I mean, those are the concerns that I have. Is if we have squad depth, and Patrick Keenum, PK's point, he's saying our depth in midfielders and their ability to adjust to more attacking or defensive roles gives us incredible flexibility. Not just that, I mean, we have depth in other places too. So I am of the opinion that, and I can maybe agree with Domer saying 75% of the starters play on that 3 game stretch, but I think that he's got to trust his players, and he's got to not ride the A team as much.
Well, it's a difference between starting and playing for a full 90 and starting your A squad to get you in a position to lock, because that was the other thing that we talked about at the end of last season, where this team was in a position to lock it up and then fell apart because Tata wasn't willing. Like, part of him running the team into the ground was that he wasn't making substitutions until the 85th minute, whenever he could have and should have been doing so at the 75th minute, when he could get fresh legs in to hold the line and hold a lead. I think that we have much more depth and much more capacity to do so in a run late this season, when you look at every position on the field, from defense, midfield, and offense. Again, that's not taking into account potential injuries or the trade window or anything like that. You know, if we lose Miggy, if Joseph gets injured, if these things
lose
start,
Miggy, how are you talking about from a transfer?
right,
Okay.
right. Like if these things start happening, that's a different conversation. But right now, even if you look at Nagbe's recovery time, all intents and purposes, he should be getting close to being ready by season's end, which gives you that much more depth in your midfield. Defensively, you've got McCann, who's clearly healthy, came in, which was a breath of fresh. Like, it was so good seeing him come in on the Philly game,
and he didn't look like he missed a step in the past, month and a half that he's been out.
Between McCann, well, now we'll say Ambrose, because assuming that it's McCann's position that he would pick up in the run of play starting next week, and he would start over Ambrose. But Ambrose, Zissou, and Miles Robinson all on defense. Up top, Vasquez, admittedly, I have not seen enough production out of him or enough great play in the moments that he's been in.
He's been slotted in weird
to
times.
Warrant him up top. But nonetheless, I think that what Romario has done up top versus what we had last year with like Kenwyne Jones coming in at that position, or even Brandon Vasquez, like, you have all of these options at every level of the field that gives you some variation in the way that you approach those games. Not so much so in the starting for the full 90, but starting your A squad in the beginning and then make critical substitutions at the 75th or the 70th rather than at the 88th, like you did last year.
I could see that. And the other thing that I could think about too is some of those guys can slot into start and really not have that much of a drop off. If you want to talk during that stretch, especially in your 3-game away stretch, you can maybe sit Mikey Ambrose in that second game or the third game going into that 8-game stretch or 8-day stretch. You could put McCann in, not miss a beat. I can't say the same for Zissou and Franco Escobar, but at that point, you're probably going to have Nagbe back. You can interchange him and Gressel.
I mean, it comes at, like, I'm not talking about trading out Barco for Carlton and, with 8 games left on the season or something like that. But I mean, like you're saying, there are real logical and completely fair substitutions to make that you're still as competent and lethal a team with those substitutions, and your starting lineup isn't going to be hindered so drastically that it's an automatic game that you're terrible or terrified of.
Yeah. Did you see this where Gaynor McCann, Chris McCann's wife, Patrick Keenum, says now McCann's wife can take him to the Claremont Lounge to recharge?
She was like, what the fuck was that? I did see that.
Oh, that poor soul. To Michael Ruiz's point,
that was how he got injured, to answer Joey Herring's question. He got injured at the Claremont.
He's trying to crush cans with his hamstrings. Michael Ruiz with a nice rebuttal to me. He says Garza isn't exactly the best example of how injury prone he has been throughout his career, to be honest. He says, but I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Go back up. There was another comment that I saw that I
not from freaking. That's what I'm saying. If it comes down to one or the other, and you see some of your guys are getting tired, especially the guys that ran, like last year, whenever you saw Yamil Assad getting absolutely run down towards the end of the year, when you saw Tito and Gressel,
they were all just wiped. But like that Columbus game was where it really. I mean, it was the last game,
yes,
and that was a big part of why that came down to the case, was that they were just run ragged by that point. Again, if you get the chance to lock up the supporter shield and get that bye, it means so much going into the playoffs.
Tony Neitzel says, one difference in the starting 11. Sure, I fear 2 or more might change chemistry a bit more than I'd be comfortable with. I could see that happening. We see that happen sometimes throughout the year.
I think 1 is an acceptable like change out.
Well, I think part of it has to do too with what formation we deploy. I think that's one of the great things whenever we come up against the squad rotation in this last stretch of the year, when we're which I'm going to bring up the strength of schedule stuff that Brian was kind enough to send over to us on Twitter. We have the ability not only.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, we not only have the ability to switch out some people with our depth, but also to be able to deploy a different formation to help accommodate those changes and to be able to rest people. So yes, Brian, he sent us the strength of schedule for the rest of the MLS season. Atlanta United has the least the weakest strength of schedule. 1.17 points per game for the remaining 14 opponents. That's crazy, right?
Well, at the same time, like, that's the thing about strength of schedule that's always interesting to me, is like, if you're the best,
That's true.
obviously your strength of schedule is going to represent lower than teams that have to play against you and that are losing to you. Their strength of schedule goes up.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Like legit, seriously, like that's always something that I've thought about is how do those numbers really shake out? Like Orlando is close to the top, but they've lost 9 straight. So are all those teams really, really that good? Or
yeah, I don't know. I'm not a statistician.
You know what I mean?
I guess I can see that, but at the same time,
like realistically speaking, wouldn't the team at the lowest part of the strength of schedule be the best team because they have beaten everybody else and therefore increased their strength of schedule because they've had to play the best and lost to the best?
Yeah, World Cup Zucchini, as much as I don't want to bring this up, so strength of schedule is based on the team's points per game. It has nothing to do with our ranking. You can't architect your way out of this, Kevin. No, my favorite comment in the trap probably ever, it says, Michael Ruiz, it says it's like Clemson when they play all these garbage teams in the ACC.
Oh my God.
same as Atlanta United in the second half.
Fuck off.
He is a Gamecock through and through.
Jesus.
Yeah. No. No, it's like whenever South Carolina comes to Francis Marion and loses whenever they're ranked in like the top 10 in baseball.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I
can't wait to bring back that stupid fucking fear the thumb bullshit this year.
You know, Francis Marion, we bought a billboard when we beat South Carolina in the regular season of baseball. Yes.
I love that Carolina fans are having to hang their hat on women's basketball championships or runs in softball now because their football team's done nothing and their baseball team hasn't. Since
Lou Holtz really put them in a bad spot. Speaking of New England, Boston accents, New England has the hardest strength of schedule remaining on the schedule. So it'll be interesting. We talked about them earlier, how I don't really see them floundering, but
holy shit, World Cup Zucchini with the knowledge. I didn't even know that, dude. I do love that. 6'2" Clemson commit scoring the winning goal to bring the Atlanta United Academy U16, U17 to the semifinals yesterday, and now they're moving on to the final tomorrow. Mr. Conway, homegrown. Did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
I've been admittedly a little unplugged and distant from most of social media ongoings or team things outside of the actual games and the few little snippets I get here or there.
So I don't know how this one works. So Brian sent us another one. He said it's the points per game. It says versus points per game needed for 6th seed across each club's remaining fixtures. I'm not sure I understand that. Do you?
So you need to have what versus points per game needed for 6th seed across each club's remaining fixture. So we need to average 2 points per game in our remaining games in order to make the playoffs. So like
no. I think what it's saying, and this is really confusing. Oh, he says hover over the ATL dot. Oh, I forgot Tableau. I forgot Tableau is like this. Yeah, it's fancy as hell. Okay, in 14 remaining fixtures, Atlanta United FC will likely need 14 points per game to compete for the 6th seed in the playoff spot. 1.79 points per game to compete for the 2nd seed in a bye, and then 1.93 points per game to compete for the Supporters Shield top record in MLS.
Which is what we're averaging right now. We're averaging roughly 2 points per game.
No, exactly 2 points per game.
Yeah. So we're above what like I said, if we continue in the run of play like we have thus far in the season and all things hold, I think Supporters Shield's the expectation. Therefore,
can I just read the Orlando one?
Oh, yes, please do.
Okay.
Oh. Well, they've been losing by that many points per game lately. So, oh, it's not how it works.
Oh gosh, they've had 1.06 points per game, and they need to average 1.44 points per game. That's almost a 50% increase in their results to even compete for the 6th seed. 2.88 points per game to compete for the 2nd seed. And then 3 points per game to compete for the Supporters Shield. You know what's interesting in looking at these is just how close the 2nd seed in the East and the Supporters Shield are right now, that you don't need that much. There's not that much of a difference right now.
What's Dallas looking like? because their points per game are just a hair above ours, right? Or just below ours.
They're
rather.
below ours. Yeah, 1.95. They have 16 games left, 0.81 points per game to finish.
So they need
to compete for.
So
the
they
16th.
have a little bit more wiggle room, really, to take Supporter Shield than we do. 1.88 versus 1.93. So
yeah, I think completely due to the fact that they.
Do you understand that magic number bullshit? Speaking of which, I saw that this week and I could not understand it.
Yeah, so I don't understand. I don't know if I've looked into soccer magic number, but like in baseball, the magic number is
like the points you need plus you need the team your opponents
think about
to
it this way.
lose a certain amount.
No, so think about it this way: the magic number is a combination of your wins and the other team's losses.
Right.
So
do you take half of that number for the amount of points that you need to get and then hope for the other team to lose that amount?
That's why it's the magic number. I don't know.
It's
any way that it happens.
What tangible things can I grab onto with that? This makes sense to me that we need to be averaging 1.93 points per game. Like that, that I get.
Yeah, the thing that makes interesting for a magic number in soccer is draws. Like in baseball, it makes sense because let's say you have two teams that are competing for the wild card.
Nothing makes sense in baseball. Fuck baseball. Of course, it's all magic in baseball whenever you've got 200 games in a season.
Yes. No, but you don't have to rely on it's easy. It's like if the Yankees magic number is 10 games to make it to clinch the wild card.
Because it's all games and not points.
They can win one game, Boston can lose 9.
Yeah,
they can win 9, they can win 10, Boston can lose 0, and they would get it. Yeah.
Barves are doing pretty good this season.
And the Barves. Yeah. Barves are number 1.
Pretty cool. I'm glad Atlanta United came around. So I have a team that I can really identify. Because I enjoy watching the Braves, and I follow them a lot.
Do we need to go to a game?
Yeah, well, I've been to SunTrust. It's great. I like it a lot.
I have too. I'm talking about we just need to go.
Yeah, we
now.
definitely do.
Yeah, if we can find a ticket.
But yeah, it's the thing about the Braves. I follow them a lot the first 2 years, but again, it's the pace of play for the game and the commitment that it takes to watch games and the length of the season. Like that's the problem with baseball for me, is that the season's way too long. I don't feel like there's anything on the line until October, and versus college football or even NFL where it's too much. Like, fuck, we lost a game. There goes our season,
Yeah.
We lost 3 games, but we can't lose 4,
Yeah.
But I feel like MLS and Atlanta United have just struck a chord where it's on the cusp of too long of a season, but every game feels important, but not overly important. It's a team that's actually I can identify with. The game and commitment isn't 5 hours long every day, unless you're us and you want to go do a live show and everything else, and then a podcast afterwards and all that. But nonetheless, it's just it's been so fun, man.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. I think that sentiment can be said for anybody who's a diehard of any sport, because I know a lot of people don't watch NBA until the playoffs come around. Well, I'll watch all year and I'll watch every game of my team's season. But yeah.
Is Domer talking shit?
Yeah.
Isn't he an Auburn fan?
Yeah, War Eagle.
But what does he have to? Congrats, you won 2 important games and it amounted to nothing this past season. I'm psyched for you.
So are you going to be a Liverpool fan this year with the Clemson kits, the away kits?
I might be. Those purple and orange ones.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope. I like them a lot.
Came out of nowhere.
I need one of those to go with my Real Sociedad kit. So I have my home and away jerseys.
Yeah. What do we got to do to get Joseph and Miggy to wear those Real Sociedad kits and do the fusion dance?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. This is the time in the podcast, and it's towards the end. For those of you guys on YouTube, I see all of you guys watching, and I only see 10 thumbs up. I need you guys to click those thumbs. We need more people watching, more people to come into the trap and just make this absolute madness.
Oh, it's already magic. Magic. It is magic.
Yeah, madness. We have a game on Sunday, so we haven't even really talked about that. Any other takeaways from the 3 games that we had?
Dude, how fucking great was it to just beat down Orlando one more time?
Yeah, it was awesome, man. It was
holy shit, and it just came out. Was it the 3rd minute that we came out and scored, or was it the 6th minute? I mean, it was really quick.
Was it the 3rd? Was it really that? Was it that early in the game?
I thought it was super quick. I could be wrong.
I don't know. I'll take a look. I'm really bad at prepping for the show.
God,
anyway,
Tim,
and I'm bad at
worst.
Like a match center, maybe.
You
I don't know.
are the
I'm really bad.
worst.
I'm really bad at navigating whoscored.com. Like some of these headings don't really make sense to me.
Oh, look at all these icons and shiny things.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3rd minute. Martinez right there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And then we didn't score again until the second half.
Oh
don't
God, it felt so good, man. At the same time, it felt good, but like I said on the last show, it's kind of getting. It's always great, but the reality was a discussion on a podcast that shall not be named. The artist formerly known as Ray Riddle was a part of at one time. That there was
Ray Riddle.
about whether or not you would prefer to beat down Orlando 5-0 every single time you play them, or just rip their hearts out late. And it's getting to the point now where we haven't lost to them in going on 2 years, 1 game remaining in that stretch. It can't be a rivalry. Back to talking about Carolina, it's not much of a rivalry whenever you completely dominate the other team.
Oh God.
Can I ignore it?
Yeah, I don't know.
What's up?
Hey Kev, how's it going?
Great. We're not talking about World Cup. This isn't the World Cup.
If you tell me something's coming home and it's not your son, I don't want to. I don't want to hear it.
Hey, well, I don't know. I can feel like I can start believing right now. It's a very strange feeling.
That's the moment it all crumbles before you, Dan.
It could do, but it's been a really good run. If we haven't, England have restored. Well, the England football team have restored the public's faith back in them. So yeah, it's probably right for it to just come crumbling down and ending up leaving in without winning anything. But
so we're coming off
man, I'm so excited about it. I can't believe it. I'm sure you guys are just hating it.
So we're coming off of a huge week, man. I mean, we just kind of bounced all over the place. What were your thoughts this week? I mean, 6 points in 3 games, 2 away games, gutter against Dallas late.
Oh God, I was so pissed off after that Dallas game. I watched it with my wife just kind of at the end of the day, and she was like, why are you so irritated? I'm like, because we lost that fucking game at the very end. It was so infuriating.
It was like a very England thing to do.
And it reminded me of when we played Minnesota last year at home.
Hildebrandt.
We just all shut down, and we basically did the same thing again, but yeah, hugely frustrating. But then turned it around against Philly, scored one of the most beautiful goals ever seen in the MLS, apart from Tito's laser. I thought part of me was like, we got very, very fortunate on that goal because Miggy passing it across and somehow the ball just ghosting past 2 defenders.
No, that was not fortunate. That was not fortunate. Oh, are you talking about the Philly game?
Yeah.
No, dude, go back and rewatch that. That was we talked about that earlier. Look at Tito. He gets his head up and consciously takes a step back so that the lane opens up for Miggy to thread it through. There was no luck or happenstance in that team build-up whatsoever.
I don't know about that. It looked like it went through like 2 defenders' legs, like it went in front of one and behind the other.
Nah.
All right.
We're gonna have to agree to disagree, Dan.
But yeah, beautiful goal. Loved it. Glad we finally got the points at the end of that game.
Brittany S agreed with me, so therefore you must be wrong.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
100%.
I agree then.
100% of the time, she's correct. 100% of the time.
So is Orlando a rivalry?
Who? I'm pretty sure they're just some like pub 5-a-side team who puts out 11 players every now and then. What a joke. What a joke. But it's great, though. I prefer them to be absolute shite and good, to be honest with you.
Thoughts on Sunday?
Yeah, what's your thoughts on Sunday?
And I'm not talking about I'm not talking about whenever Croatia plays Belgium. I'm talking about I'm talking about the Atlanta United Seattle game.
Tim, sound great, man. we should win. We should beat Seattle comfortably. I'd say a 3-0. They started putting up some goals against Portland in the last game, but I can't see them doing much. Can you?
I'm thinking maybe a 2-1.
Yeah, if they start bunkering or something.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah, I could see a 2-1.
Yeah, that's one.
Because they've lost 2 of their. I'm looking at it now. They've lost 2 of their last 6.
Yeah, they're definitely in their best run of form this year. But
and those losses were against Portland and Red Bulls.
So they're not bad losses to have. They've gotten their footing of late, but they're still a team without like a actual credible threat up front. I mean, Clint Dempsey is a shell of a shell of his former self, and then when Will Bruin is really your top threat up front, I mean, it's not going to scare anybody in this league. Yeah, I mean, Jordan Morris is still out, correct? I mean, after his Achilles tear last year.
It's interesting how, again, it's based on what you're saying, we're going to be playing another team that has just hit a peak of form. So that's kind of frustrating.
But at the same time, I feel like Atlanta over this past week, the loss included, I think that Atlanta, I would argue, is hitting. It's tough because Orlando is so bad right now to really include them in a quality win. But nonetheless, I think the Philly game was great. I thought the Dallas game was great for 86 minutes, considering even with the blowout against Orlando, it's 3 games in 7 days, 2 on the road, 1 against the second team in the league. I could just as easily argue that even with the substitutions and depth being tested on Atlanta right now, that they're at their peak run of form right now as well.
I don't think we are at our peak yet. I feel like we still, against Dallas, even with like the first half of Philly, we were kind of sluggish. I still don't think we've hit our peak. So, which makes me incredibly excited because when we do hit our peak, oh my gosh.
I haven't begun to peak.
That's my secret is I'm always peaked.
Not totally clicking all the time, but maybe I just have really high standards or something.
Yeah, he gets 1 game to the semifinals, and now look at him. Everybody has got to be a Harry Kane or some shit.
No, legitimately, how are you feeling about? It's not tomorrow, right? It's Wednesday that England plays Croatia. Yeah.
So my child will be born at 8:30 Wednesday morning.
Oh shit!
And what's it? 2:00. So I figure if I can't get the game in the room, then I'll just go downstairs over the road to one of the bars and just watch it there. And just everyone ask everyone nicely to extinguish their cigarettes and stuff. So my 5-hour-old child can watch the game.
Dear God.
I'm quietly confident, but
I think
that's a weird sentence to say with England in there. I think I was pretty impressed during the Sweden game. I thought that we were pretty comfortable throughout that game. There weren't too many chances that really threatened too much England. So we were well organized. We were able to take our chances where we could. Some of us had better days off the ball than on the ball, Raheem Sterling. But
they were, yeah.
I think we have just as much chance of winning on Wednesday as Croatia does. I think we probably edge them a little bit on paper.
I think of the 2 games, England definitely has the better matchup. And I think I'm more confident in England pulling that game out and advancing to the final than I am in calling one way or the other for Belgium or France. Just, again, on paper, that's one thing. England is not – you look at what Croatia's been through the past 2 games and the amount of wear and tear that's taken on them, plus now having to travel and then – go up against a formidable team that's been rested and not had to go through all that and the injuries that they've sustained, not even to count the fatigue and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Croatia played back-to-back 120-minute games,
right,
where they came down to penalties.
Dude, and they were dropping at the end of that Russia game. I think
because guess what? They don't juice the way that Russia does. Thank God they were not.
Exactly. I'm waiting for that report after the World Cup concludes.
So my question is, what happens with Spain's World Cup record if Russia ends up testing positive for doping?
Are you trying to put an asterisk on it if England wins it? Is that what you're trying to do?
No, not if England wins it.
I'm doing that regardless.
No, I mean England didn't have to play Russia. No, I'm giving you shit, Dan, about England. I think this is the most complete. I think the best way I've seen it put is that Gareth Southgate didn't just group together talent. He actually created a team, and it shows. I mean, I am unbelievably impressed and so excited about Virgil van Dijk's new center back partner next year, and Harry Maguire. I mean, he's a monster in that back line. I mean, when the worst person on the field for you is Eric Dyer, it's not that bad of a situation.
No, but when Eric Dyer stepped up to take that last penalty against Colombia, I was very, very nervous.
I was too, because I really thought that because Jordan Henderson's been playing quite an amazing World Cup. And I was as a Liverpool fan, I was very nervous about him missing that penalty. If that would have sent England home, what that would have done to his confidence for the rest of the season. So I'm very glad Eric Dyer stepped up and put that in the back of the net. But I think because of the reasons Kevin said, I think that England have definitely the edge over Croatia, but you can't sleep on that Croatia team.
No, not at all. It's not gonna be a gimme by any stretch, but I could easily see this going 0-0 into the half, and then England coming in and just beating the brakes off of them in the 70th, 80th minute, as this team is just sort of beaten and broken at that point.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I think if this was old England, just happened in some weird fantasy land where old England managed to get to the semifinals to play Croatia, I think that team would take probably a metric ton of hubris and arrogance into that game and get beaten 3-1 or something. But I feel like this England team is far younger. They're not looking to. They sort of know their limits, and they're relaxed. They're able to deal with threats. They're able to think about things. They're able to think about what they're going to do before they even receive the ball. So I think this England team could, once they probe and find the weaknesses, I think they're more effective at exploiting them and have a better chance of success than past England teams against this pretty formidable Croatia team.
Right on. So we got your score prediction. Obviously, we're pulling for you on Wednesday in more ways than one. I refuse to say congratulations for a fifth time. I feel like I've said it every other day for the past 2 weeks, so I'm done.
I'm just trying to get compliments from people fishing here and there, you know.
All right, man. Well, congrats, and we'll see you soon.
All right, guys.
All right, man.
All right, see you, Dan.
That pretty much wraps it up for me, too. I mean, thinking back, I don't know of anything left on my list of things to really talk about going into the Seattle game. Are you guys going to the watch party? The Seattle game is on Sunday, and they're opening up Mercedes-Benz for the final watch party. And isn't it capacity game? Aren't they opening it up to 80 this weekend? Am I incorrect in that?
I don't know.
For some reason, I thought they were opening it up.
I don't pay a whole ton of attention to that just because I have season tickets, so I don't have to worry about like getting tickets or anything like that. Jay says Kelly apparently invited Tim and Kevin to some sort of World Cup MBS bar crawl inside the stadium on Sunday.
So she invited us through Jay. That's great.
Yeah, it's 70,000. Yeah, you're right. So
I did it. I got it right, guys. I knew it.
Speaking of other people who got it right, we're going to give the rundown of the fantasy league since we didn't do that at the beginning of the show. At number 1, as usual, we have John F. Beasy, Stats and Trends, up by 82 points over Dog for Him, David Benson. And then in third, Claremont Lounge FC, where dreams are made, Adam Lewis. We have Varvar Binks, Kevin Gorham, And then in fifth, we have Spotsam Mighty Reds with 1,788
The
points.
real question I have right now is what time will the brisket be ready on Sunday? Because I would like to do a good brisket brunch before I go watch the game.
So you can sleep in the stadium? I don't want to fall asleep now.
Nah, fam.
I'm gonna
Gotta
ta-
get a good meat base going.
I'm gonna
before I
take
start
I'm gonna
drinking.
take like 6 doses of allopurinol on
10:30.
Sunday.
That's perfect. I will be there.
Oh no.
Hopefully, you
dude.
guys will be out there. We'll be out and about.
We need to meet Derek Rushing out there. He says I'm having wisdom teeth taken out on Friday, so he'll be at the game hopped up on Percocets.
Make sure you get that guy a drink in his hand. Let's see what happens.
Whoa. Somebody's not leaving the stadium with his clothes on. Yeah, so we'll be out there for sure. I think we're just gonna be out there hanging
Make an
out. and
early
having
run
fun.
of it.
Yeah.
I think what I'm gonna do. Ooh, this is the plan. We haven't done bagels before. We haven't done a bagel banter meetup. Maybe
Brisket banter.
maybe Sunday is the day. I'll like pick up a bag of Goldberg's bagels or something to take down to the Gulch.
Brisket bagel sandwiches.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Triple B.
Yeah, bruh. Triple B, bruh.
Gonna be the Guy Fieri of the Gulch.
Yeah, I'll get some Goldberg. Domer, you hook me up with some brisket. I got the bagels. Let's do this thing. So,
Brisket and locks.
ooh, a little surf and turf. Does that count?
Do brisket, locks, and
Cream cheese and
cream
capers?
cheese. Oh God!
Yes.
And some pepperoncinis on top.
Dip in a little au jus.
Ooh, that's more of an Italian beef. God, I am hungry right now. Ugh. I'm about to go to Dairy Queen just to make it.
Ooh, Brian's got a good point. Somebody bring some pimento cheese. We need to do a whole, like, we talked about it. We need to do a whole, like, dinner party cooking, home before dark cooking, like, cooking dinner podcast where we just eat in the mic and cook.
Piss everybody off. Oh, you know what? I found out my favorite thing at Dairy
Maybe we
Queen.
could do some, like, tailgate featurettes, though. It'd be pretty dope.
Yeah, it'd be fun. At Dairy Queen, you know that you can get them to turn over anything that you order, not just the not just the Blizzards. Oh, the Diet Dr. Pepper. Not taking that till you flip it over. I want to make sure that lid's on tight.
Oh, God. All right. That's a good sign that things have come to a close. Thanks for joining us tonight, guys or gals, especially if you're listening to us tomorrow. If you are listening to us on iTunes or Stitcher or SoundCloud, go leave us a rating. Stop taking them back. We work hard for that shit. Leave us a review if you want to hear it read on the show, too. We love the hell out of you guys. Even if it's 1 star, we don't care. It all helps. It all helps the cause. You give us 1, the homies will come out and leave us 10. It don't matter. Just leave some reviews. Leave us some love. We'll be out at the tailgate this Sunday, bright and early, spitting briskets and bagels and locks.
Yes.
You can find all of us on Twitter. Tim, where can they find you at?
You can find me at Home Before Dark.
I've
realized
sworn off social media.
I get way too angry on social media, and it's not for me anymore.
Yeah.
I think I've gotten to that point.
Yeah.
It's just
Well, luckily the Orlando fans have been eerily quiet lately.
yeah, that is true. Well, everybody's been eerily quiet for me. It's
Yeah,
not really
it's-
eerie because
it's same here, man.
I deleted Twitter from my phone like 3 weeks ago.
Good
and
call. It's
yeah.
refreshing, man. I completely support that decision. I man the social media accounts now, so come holla at me.
I
You
still have
can-
Instagram because people aren't shitbirds on Instagram unless like you're a celebrity and you have a comment section.
My
but
favorite thing are the hashtags on our Home Before Dark.
Be still
posts.
my heart.
You can find me at The Architect. That's at _ARC. Number 1 TECT. Collectively at Home Before Dark. That's before spelled B and the number 4. Go find Dan James DNJMS. Give him a congratulations. As he mentioned, they are expecting their 3rd son this Wednesday. Gonna bring both home, hopefully.
Harry
couple of
Kane
days.
James.
A couple of days following that. So thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you Sunday and next week. As always, be home before dark.
Let's go mute them. I don't know. Trying to do dance thing.
What are you talking
The Sounders.
Oh, Jesus.